You're listening to TJ's One of Us for the Always Next Year Podcast Studio Network. You can find the team on our Twitter at ANYPodcast. You can also find us on our website, www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. And now, to bring us in, the Jackdaws.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and so jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Hello and welcome to another episode of TJ's One of Us, the AMYP's 76ers segment. Did we do a segment last week, Rob?
I think we did, yeah.
All right, solid.
It was either last week or 2 weeks ago. We did a season review segment. It might have been 2 weeks.
I feel like it was 2 weeks ago. I feel like we didn't do one next week, or last week. Anyway, I am your host, Shane. I'm joined by Rob. And if we did not do one last week, we're sorry. It is the off season and we lose tracks of time. And we have other things to talk about, like a $128 million 4-year extension for Carson Wentz and a Philadelphia Phillies team that is dying, literally. So we are back though. And we are doing a mailbag segment. So we are talking all different types of questions here that were sent in via the website, which is www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. So we had we had a lot of questions over the last, since the 76ers season ended. We did a mailbag segment, I think right after the season. I took one solo. These are some of the remaining questions and then also some more relevant questions that have come up in the last several days. So I have seen the questions. Rob, you have not. So I will have like a semi-planned out response to some of these. You just get to sit here and totally wing it. So this should be fantastic.
Trust me, my responses are better when I wing it.
Oh, perfect. I do feel like we need to put a mini fridge in here and that we should probably always have beer in the studio or whiskey for Steve.
Absolutely. That sounds like a solid idea.
I feel like that would make segments like this better. Like obviously our normal segments, we probably should not do that, but I feel as though for these particular segments, like maybe.
Go for some whiskey right now.
Well, there you go. See? And had Steve not finished the last of the Jameson, that we did have up here, you could have whiskey, but Steve did finish that, because he is a committed member to this podcast and he's committed to Whiskey Ramble, Steve's very special segment that he has rewarded all the followers with. But we've wasted enough time. So we picked the 10, or I picked the 10 most either relevant or funny or whatever questions for this mailbag segment for TJ's One of Us. So buckle up. Let's get going. First question is from First time. So I appreciate your honesty. I would so much rather the next time you sent this in would be first time, long time. And I will allow you to use first time, long time after just 2 listens. That is how much I am willing to sit there and say, oh, shit. This stuff started like raining in my ear. Damn. All right. Anyway, first time. Let's get into your question here.
Just don't ever call yourself first time, last time.
So
that would not be good.
That would not be good, actually. That would definitely suck. Man, I'm getting so much feedback in this. I hope they don't get feedback in this. If you guys have feedback in this, listen through it. Otherwise, we're going to quit the pod and you don't want that to happen. First time. Your question is, will you continue to call the pod, TJ is One of Us, or will you change it when he is no longer a Sixer anymore next year? Because he is definitely not coming back because he's a terrible basketball player. Oh my God. So if Kevin were still here, honestly, I think had we changed the name, Kevin might still be here. He was so angry at this name.
He hated this name.
He hated the name.
I think it's creative. I like it.
So do I.
Plus, I'm a TJ guy, even though he's not that great of a basketball player.
He's not a great basketball player.
He is one of us.
He is one of us. That's exactly right. Which is why we've decided to call the segment TJ's One of Us. Because at the end of all days, we are all just undersized white guys trying to play basketball. We're everyone's favorite cheerleader.
Yeah, exactly.
So hell yes. I am voting right now. The official stance from me, the host of this show, is that we will continue to call it TJ's One of Us. Co-host, where you at?
Let me ask you this. Is Ricky Sanchez, the Sixers still have rights to him?
I don't know anymore.
That was a while ago that trade happened. They absolutely do not have rights to him. But
there's
still a podcast in his name. And it is a very good show, but we're a little bit better, so listen to us instead.
It's true. Mike Levin and Spike Eskin do a fantastic job on rights to Ricky Sanchez. I feel like they're synonymous with Sixers basketball. Like, I feel like they're just...
They are, but we're a little bit more synonymous. So listen to us instead.
Definitely listen to us. I do feel like they're the Dodgers and we're the Phillies of this particular, scenario and synonym, or what do they call that? I think it's a synonym.
You know what? That makes us the underdog, and Philly loves an underdog.
I support that. I do support that. But anyway, yes, continue to listen to us first. And if you want to listen to rights to Ricky Sanchez, we don't care.
Anyway, back to my main point. Their pod is still named after a guy who is long gone. And our pod, I think, after TJ leaves, the name should stay.
First of all, I also definitely think that if, Joel Embiid decided, hey, I want TJ here, they'll pay him to be here and be, last guy off the bench. Because he's, that loved in Philadelphia and that loved in the locker room. I also definitely think that if Jimmy Butler resigns here, I'm pretty sure it's, part of his contract. He's going to be I need my guy TJ. He needs to be here. So there's a very real possibility first time that TJ's still a Sixer next year. Who knows? You
know what? Jimmy in the contract negotiations is going to go up to Elton Brand and be like, TJ's one of us.
I dig it. He will use the exact phrase. He'll use the hashtag and then he'll hashtag or he'll send us something on Twitter, saying, hey, got you guys. You're good here. So first time, good question, but we will continue to call this TJ's one of us, and you will all know exactly who we're talking about because you're good fans. All right. This one is from, let's see. This one's from Jimmy over Toby. Do you risk offering less than the max for Jimmy and or Toby in efforts to fix the very thin bench? Well, I'll let you take this first.
We already discussed it a little bit in the last show,
but a little bit.
I absolutely would give Jimmy the max. I think he needs to be here. The alpha dog who can close out games. The Sixers don't have anyone else on the court who can do that besides him. So come playoff time, they absolutely need that guy. But with Toby, I would rather they actually not spend the money on Toby and spend it on shoring up the bench. I think that having Jimmy here and having a deeper bench would make them a much more of a threat to go deep into the Eastern Conference playoffs and hopefully even to the NBA Finals next year. Toby, I like him as a player. He can shoot the ball a little bit, which I like from before, but defensively he's a minus. Or he's kind of, not beneficial. I can't find the word that I'm looking for, but, he's not worthy of a max contract for me. So I would rather they go the other direction and find some bench pieces with that money.
I can look, we're both on the same page as Jimmy Butler. Pay the man a max. Let's just move on in life. Toby is interesting because for me, it still would really piss me off if we sent the amount of assets we did over there to acquire him for 25 games. That would really, really piss me off. Did you see the ridiculous, I think I just sent it to Connor. I don't think I sent it to you. Because Connor and I think are going to talk about it on Crossing Borders. But some asshat from, Philly's front office or Philly front office or whatever the hell that thing is. They put, what the hell do they put out there? They said that there's currently, a sign and trade talk for Toby, and Toby and other assets, according to their anonymous source. So it's very credible here. For an AD trade, for an Anthony Davis trade. Who the hell else do we have that is a movable asset, and what draft piece assets do we have remaining that we could sit there and acquire Anthony freaking Davis with a headliner like Toby? That's ridiculous.
I mean, Anthony Davis is a center, is he not? Would they play him at the power forward?
4-5. Yeah, I mean, he could do both because he could shoot.
I mean, I would love to have AD here, but yeah, we don't have the assets for it.
We do not have the assets for it. That's exactly correct. So yeah, that pissed me off so much. I look at Toby and I sit there and I see there is still the thought that he can turn himself into this year was probably this was his best year of his career. I do think that there's even more potential there, that he could exceed what he did this year. And that's a very real possibility. And he is a guy who has moved around almost every year. The hard thing with him is the fact that if we offer him a max where we're at right now, like he's not movable. Like that is not a sexy trade piece unless he like just flat out balls out and recreates his own ceiling again. I don't know that you can bank on that, but I don't know. Jimmy's a 100% yes, give him the money. Toby, I'm like 80-20, give him the money, because there's just no one else that is like an attainable person in free agency that we can get like for the next 2 or 3 years. It's just, to me, build the 5 and just get creative about filling that bench.
It's a really tricky position that they're in with Toby, because like I said, I don't believe that he's worth a max deal. However, I do think that he is going to get one. With that being said, I would rather some other team pay him the max than the Sixers. You say that you're 80-20 in favor of keeping him. I'm more along the lines of like 40-60. Like 40% keep him, 60% get rid of him.
I don't know, man. Today's NBA, you need shooters, and Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons need shooters. Joe needs a shooter so that he can stay inside, and Ben needs shooters because he won't shoot. So we need 3 other pure shooters on the court at all times. Toby's a shooter, and he's a damn good one when he's right. So,
well, that is true, and I do agree with that. They also badly need defense, and Toby does not provide defense. They had such a significant drop-off defensively.
So you're saying you want Robert Covington back?
I'd rather have Dario back.
You'd rather have Dario back than Toby?
Yes.
Holy shitballs.
I would rather have Dario back.
Oh my god.
I mean, offensively...
That's the feedback that's going on in the ears right now, the dumbassery of that comment.
Offensively, he's not nearly as good as Toby, but he's a more well-rounded player, more of a hustle guy than Toby is, and you can have him for a lot cheaper.
I mean, you can, but damn, I love Dario. You know that he was my favorite 76er while he was on the roster, but
I also think that Dario has a higher upside than Toby does. More room to grow, more room to improve.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a bold take there.
It is a bold take
by you, my friend. So we'll see if you will in existence, and then obviously, management listens to this show. Like we are Elton Brand's favorite pod. So obviously he's going to sit here and he's going to take this into very strong consideration right now. So the official Rob stance, I need everyone to know this was Rob's stance. He would prefer Dario over Tobias Harris.
A lot of people don't know this, but I'm actually the special advisor to Elton Brand. Just like Steve is the special advisor to Chuck Fletcher.
We're very high classed here.
We are.
You can tell from the way that we present ourselves, in this show and all these shows. But, so we are the inside source for each of these teams. So if you hear it here, obviously it's true.
I actually did study sports management for a couple semesters and decided that I hated it.
Jesus.
So
you just devalidated the thing that you just stated. You are apparently not the assistant.
I feel like I validated it with the fact that I did study it for a couple semesters.
That's like saying you went to a semester and a half of like any type of intro to medical courses and you could perform my knee surgery.
Hey, for what it's worth, I didn't skip any classes.
Well, that's impressive. I've never in my life gone to a class that I attended every single class to, so good on you. All right, so this third one is from Rachel. If you had to pick one Sixer to have a Randy Wolf-like following for, who would you guys choose and what would you do? I think this is in reference to the Mike Scott Hive thing that is huge right now. And look, if you were going to do it for a Sixer, that is the Sixer to do it for. And if you're not going to do it for him, TJ's the Sixer to do it for. But TJ may not be here next year. So, I don't know. Who would you pick?
I would pick either one of those guys. I would go TJ first. Or if Boban is still here, I think Boban could have that kind of following.
What would you do? Would you just like have 4 guys walk in stilts and just...
Stilts and goofy ass looking faces with like masks with like huge ass ears. And, I mean, he's a weird looking dude.
He is a fun looking guy.
He has a following though. I mean, people love him wherever he goes. So I could definitely see Boban having that kind of a, like a fan group.
That's funny.
Just a bunch of guys, group of guys walking in on stilts with a weird, ugly-looking mask and huge, deformed, almost-looking ears. Massive hands.
Oh, I like the Boban thing. I'm trying to think who I would do outside, or who I would formulate a group of Randy Wolf fan group for outside of TJ. Because TJ I could just go as myself and just pick 4 other white guys.
Yeah,
and just stand there and cheer with a towel, and just, it's not that difficult. But in terms of creativity, I'm trying to think what I could do for Joel Embiid. I just don't know. It's obviously it's fun to sit there and cheer for a superstar, but everybody likes these nobodies. That's what makes us so fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Maybe if we could just all show up in IV bags for Zaire Smith.
We could do that. It might be a little bit offensive to him.
Oh, just a little. But it doesn't matter because I picked him to be a top 7 player in all of the NBA by the time his rookie contract is up. So obviously I love him.
And you called me out for having a bold prediction.
Yeah, no. I told my cousin that at a wedding we were at. I was like, oh yeah, top 7. And he's just like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to be a top 7 Sixer. And I'm like, no. In the NBA. He got up and just walked away. He just picked up his drink and left. And I was like, shit, man, he was the only person I know that watches as much, or if not more, Sixers basketball than me.
He didn't spit his drink out. That's probably what I would have done.
Well, fortunately at that moment, he had not yet taken a sip, but I feel like he probably finished the glass right after I said that comment, just in his walk back to his own table. But yeah, so Zaire, no actual offense, in my statement there. And I genuinely do believe that by the time your rookie contract is up, you are going to be Kawhi Leonard-esque. I fully support the Zaire Smith. But he may be the movable asset in the Toby thing, in this mysterious AD trade.
That's more bold than my Dario statement.
Yeah, probably. One has seen 3.5 minutes of NBA basketball. The other one's at least played.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, you'll like the name of this next one. Boban is actually 7'8". How short of a leash do you think Brett Brown has? And do you think that Avery Johnson, being potentially hired as an assistant coach could push him even more on the hot seat? I hate this person so much. Whoever asked this question, I just want to punch in the throat. I know I shouldn't because they're our followers, but damn, if we lose a couple, is it that big of a deal?
No, we'll gain them right back. We're that good.
All right. Well, all right. That's positive thinking. Good for you. Should I take this one? Do you want to take this one?
I think we can both take this one. I have something I want to say about it, but you go first.
All right. So, lay off Brett Brown's hot seat thing for it. Jesus Christ. And it's Avery freaking Johnson. It's not like we're getting mid 2000s Phil freaking Jackson. Come on now. It's Avery freaking Johnson. Dumb as hell. The organization did not have to sit there and come out and publicly say, Brett is our coach going forward. They didn't need to do that. That to me sounds like an organization is pretty full on board staying behind this guy right now through the duration of the extension he signed. Unless things truly shit the bed. But I don't think that's going to happen. And if it does, it's not Brett's fault more than likely. It's because for the third year in a row, we do not have a freaking bench or playable players. But to sit here and think that Avery Johnson puts him closer to a hot seat are you okay? The person who asked this question is just, what do you got, man? I don't even know. What do you got?
Are you on? What are you smoking over there? There are certain things that will push Brett Brown closer to the hot seat or make his seat a little bit hotter. Avery Johnson's not one of them. Avery Johnson, it's been a long time since he's coached in the NBA.
It was 3 or 4 years.
I thought it was more than that. But he went to one NBA final with Dallas back in 2006. Lost. Hasn't been back since then. I don't think that he's a threat to supplant Brett Brown. The only thing that I could see making Brett Brown's seat a little bit hotter is failure in the playoffs next year. If they're upset somehow in the first round, I think Brett Brown's good as gone. I think that if they don't make it out of the second round again, then the Sixers are going to do their due diligence and see if they can look elsewhere for a head coach. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to be an improved team next year. I think at least conference finals. And if they do that, Brett Brown's safe. I think that, like, I agree with you that something really drastic needs to happen in order for Brett Brown to not be the head coach beyond next season. And even if he's not, I don't think it's going to be Avery Johnson who replaces him.
Yeah, me either. Like, not even a little bit. And to me, I sit there and I think, like, for a response like yours, which I think is fair, if you have to think so far in advance into next season's playoffs, and not just the first round, but the second and third round, that's a freaking coach who's safe. Like, you're already giving him enough credit to get to that point to begin with. He's safe. He's fucking safe. One. That's our one. It's our PG-13 rating.
You always take the free one.
Thank you. Everything from this point on, we put $1 in the swear jar here for AMYP.
Dang, you've already donated like 50 some odd bucks.
Yeah, we've done. Well, we've donated. We crossed the $50 threshold twice.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know where we're at in this one.
You are our leading donor by about 500% over the next closest person.
Probably. I mean, if Steve was on more segments, like, Steve would win. But actually, it's not necessarily true. Steve's two main segments are two that we don't care about. And we don't care about language, I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Brett Brown stuff. That is like the quickest way to trigger me into an argument and to just like an irrational response. Next question is from Tony R. I actually find this interesting. It's like, it makes me really mad, but it's interesting to say the least. Would you trade Embiid after the first hypothetical championship, knowing his career is likely going to be a short one, peak value, and then build around Ben? So it's interesting because he's pissed off like the same people that he's also trying to make happy with this take. It's very weird. Or with this question. So it's interesting. Like, in my head, I'm like, freaking no, you're not trading Joel Embiid, especially not right after a championship.
Yeah, I could answer that question after the first 4 words. No. Would you trade Embiid? No.
That's funny. I don't know, man. I sit there and I think, like, so they're just calling this a hypothetical championship. That could be next season. That could be in 3 years. Like, we don't know how Joe's gonna. I do sincerely think that going forward, Joe mentioned it in his exit interview. Brett Brown has mentioned it. Sixers management has mentioned it, that the way that they can manage, or that they're going to look to manage Joel Embiid is in a way that makes him more effective late in the season and for the postseason. And that's important. So maybe there's no reason to sit here and fear that the peak Joel Embiid is going to be over in the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe he can go 5 to 8. Maybe he can go more. Who knows? How long he can continue to be effective. I do think it's an interesting theory and concept. It's not one that I would do, but I can see the logic behind it. If Ben progresses in a way that we believe he can or should, maybe not can, should, I can see why you would sit there and want to potentially build a team around Ben. If he's truly a LeBron-like talent and he does develop a jumper and does develop, an actual shot. Yeah. I mean, LeBron has won championships with literally no one around him. Conceivably, Philadelphia could do the same thing with a Ben Simmons. Now, again, so much would have to go right in his career and so much would have to go, different in Joe's career, but interesting take nonetheless. I appreciate your just flat out no.
See, my thing there is Joel Embiid is already arguably the most complete center in the National Basketball League Association. Ben Simmons, as good as he can be, he's not a complete player, and you can't guarantee that he is going to ever become that complete player. We think that he probably will. We hope that he will, but you can't guarantee that at this point. Whereas Joel Embiid, he's already pretty much, a complete player. There are some things that he certainly can improve on, and I think that he will improve on. But you can't get better. He's the best center in the NBA, and right now he's a better piece to build around than Ben Simmons is. And I think that even if Ben does continue to progress, that fact is going to remain that Embiid is the better player to build around than Ben Simmons is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't think I could state that any differently. And I'm very pro Ben Simmons, but there's literally nothing to argue about what you just said. So still an interesting question, Tony R. Yeah, Tony R. An interesting thought and theory. But, AMYP's official stance is, if we win a championship with with Joe, we're going to win another one right after it.
And then a third.
And maybe a fourth. For the sixth question is from Mike Scott is Daddy. So nice, I guess. What is Kevin up to these days? Will you guys have him on a guest? Have him as a guest sometimes. Also, you guys should do a show every game like Rights to Ricky Sanchez does. So we mentioned Kev went off and he's doing something on his own. He has not yet released a date as to when all of his details will become public, but what I can say is that you will be able to, listen to more of him eventually.
He's off doing Kev things.
He is off doing Kev things. He is always off doing Kev things. Just had breakfast with him the other day. He came by before work, which was cool. Just catching up and stuff. But yeah, we'll definitely have Kev on at some point, throughout the 76ers season. Probably at some point during the off season as well. He actually left right before we've finished the studio. So that's a kind of a shame. So I'm sure he'll come over and, he'll jump on a segment here and there. And then will we do a show after every game like Rights to Ricky Sanchez does? First of all, I don't think that Rights to Ricky Sanchez does a, show after every game. I think towards the end of the season they do. But I think they just do 2 shows a week, if I'm not mistaken. So ideally, we would have a large enough staff that if you are a 76ers, AMYP member, you are only a 76ers member. And you could do that. The problem is, I am on 6 of our 7 segments. Rob is on 5 of our 7 segments. And I think everyone else is on 3 or 4 segments. That means we all have responsibilities to watch all of Philadelphia sports and to be able to report on and speak on all sports. If I do a show after every single 76ers game, if me and Rob sit here and do a show after every 76ers game, we're going to have dog shit other segments. I don't know what your thought is about it.
Well, there's just the time constraints. I mean, like you said, you're on 6 of the 7. I'm on 5 of the 7. Other members of our podcast are on 3 or 4 out of the 7. And we all have different things going on in our lives as well. I mean, doing 82 shows and then playoffs in addition to that, right now it's just not feasible. Like you said, if we get more staffers who are specifically 76ers guys, then yes.
Yeah.
But given our schedules, both with the podcast and outside of it, a show after every single game, it's just not feasible. And granted, I don't know about you, but I'm not available to even watch every single game. I can watch out of 82, maybe 70, but yeah, 82 games, 82 shows. About it, dude. Right now, not feasible.
How many nights are there Flyers and Sixers on the same night? What the hell's taking precedent there?
I'm primarily a Flyers guy, so I need to be watching that because I'm the host of Disciples of Ed.
So there you go, which we are still stoked about.
Yes.
That's definitely going to be fun. I also love your intersegment bits, dude. That was a quality text that you sent over. So we'll definitely have fun with that.
I was actually sober when I thought of those too.
That's impressive, honestly. That's really, really impressive. But look, Mike Scott is Daddy. We love that you enjoy our show enough that you would like to listen to us 82 times a year plus, playoffs and off season. But, yeah, I think we'll probably stick to once, maybe twice a week and, any type of breaking news type of things. For that, that's, yeah, I don't think that would work out. But hey, if you want to be a member of our show, send us an email, amypodcastteam@gmail.com. If you want to write for us, that's something we definitely need is writers. So, by all means, reach out.
Yeah, feel free. Send us your resume.
All right. From a Hinkie fan. Oh, yeah. I love this. I forgot about this.
I love Hinkie fans.
Everyone should love Hinkie fans. They're fantastic humans. So this is a hashtag Hinkie cell phone. So, this is someone who wrote in specifically for one of our intersegment bits, Hinkie's cell. He definitely has a photo of a corkboard full of process madness and him explaining it and pleading with ownership to keep his job and the process alive. And he totally looks like that meme of Charlie Day in the image in my head, except now he's bald. That's amazing.
That's quite an image, I have to say.
Right? first of all, the fact that Sam Hinkie's like went not crazy, but like shaved his head is hilarious to me.
He's person did a really good job of painting a picture with their words in that question.
Yeah, I dig that. Wasn't even a question, just giving their Hinkie cell phone thing. I dig that. I don't have any Hinkie cell phone prepared today. But we'll definitely do another intersegment bit of his, or of that one, in one of the next episodes of TJ is One of Us. If you guys ever have any of those as well, you can email it to us, you can tweet at us, you can DM us, you can do it through the website, whatever. Best way to do it is through an iTunes review, because the next one gets an autographed photo of Rob's face, which eventually we would really like to stop advertising because it would mean that it has happened. Finally. So be number 19 and review us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our 8th question. So we got 3 more here, from Elle or Ellie or Aline. I don't know. Ben Simmons is definitely right-handed, right? Like, how does someone play a game their entire life and still not realize they're using the wrong hand? Did you send this in? I think he needs a legit shooting coach or to be punched in the face.
That wasn't me, but I could see why you could think that it was. Because I've said that a number of times on our show.
Oh, that's rich. He is right-handed. But there's no...
He does everything else right-handed. Didn't he throw out the first pitch of a Phillies game right-handed?
Yeah. And half of his like spin, one-handed turnaround, whatever that he does in the paint. His anything out of control, he goes to his right hand and tries to put him with his right hand.
And he's way more successful with it.
Oh, kind of. He's not necessarily successful with either, but I do think that he looks more natural shooting right-handed. I don't know, man. All I hope is that he gets a legit shooting coach and that he genuinely spends the entire offseason just shooting a basketball and just finding a form that works. It doesn't even have to be pretty. I really don't care. Just be willing to shoot and just look. Giannis is a dog shit shooter, and he's going to be an MVP. So, like, just find
a way to make it work.
Just be average. And if you can't do that, like, find a way to shoot 75% or better from the free throw line and just use your 6'11" frame, get to the rim, and just finish strong and create contact.
See, the great thing about Giannis, though, is that even though he's not a great shooter, he's still okay with taking a 3-pointer or 2 every game just to have the threat there that
yeah, it's important.
Maybe he'll make one.
It's definitely important.
If Ben could start doing that, that's a game changer.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that, like, remember when he just casually pulled up and shot his first 3-point attempt? I think it was against LA at home. I can't remember exactly.
It was either the Lakers or it might have been Denver at home. One of those two.
Yeah, I can't remember, but like he just casually strolled up and just like took a legit 3-pointer for the first time in his career.
It was like halfway down and it rattled out.
Oh yeah. Do you think that had he made that shot, the very first one at home, the Wells Fargo Center, as crazy as that place gets for 76ers games, that literally would have been enough to make him shoot threes the rest of the year?
I think maybe it would have.
Me too.
Damn those rims at Wells Fargo Center.
Why couldn't we install the ones from
Toronto? Seriously.
Unbelievable.
Killing Ben's confidence.
Killing it. For the 9th one, or 9th question is 4.5-star review. It annoys me that I can't vote 4.5 for no reason other than to be the asshole that ruins your perfect score. Who would you go after in free agents or trades besides Jimmy, Toby, and JJ? Well, we kind of discussed that last time. We went with, Pat Beverly we both had.
Yes.
Dwayne Dedman was another one that we had. Who else? You mentioned Nikolai Vucevic, but that
was a pipe dream there.
Yeah, that's not going to
happen. I did mention Alfred Payton.
Right, yeah, reuniting.
A very, very brief member of the process.
That's correct.
About 5 minutes.
Yeah, the draft night trade. Yeah, I mean, for that question, just listen to our last episode of TJ is One of Us, and we covered a lot of it there for different pieces that we would look to kind of piece together here for us. But I think the main one that we would both go for right now is, or the main two is Dwayne Dedman and Pat Beverly. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good start there for bench pieces to back up your two most critical positions and players. And then our final one, I dig this one. I left this for last because when they sent it in, 1, they used my name. 2, they used my favorite 76er of all time. The name is Iggy Hall of Fame. Shane, you love Iguodala more than anyone in the city. Would he be a first ballot Hall of Famer if it were up to you? I'm going to save my response for second. So.
Good Lord, man. A first ballot Hall of Famer for what? Just pro basketball in general?
You're not an Iguodala fan?
No, I don't hate Iguodala, but the guy's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Come on, man. In order to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I mean, he has the championships, but he has them as a complimentary player. He doesn't have MVP awards. He doesn't have a huge number of
He has a
All-Star
Finals
appearances.
MVP, and he's got one Finals MVP, and there's like 7 guys who do not have a single one.
Andre Iguodala is not a Hall of Fame basketball player.
Like at all?
He's close, but I don't think he is one.
Oh my god. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Jesus, alright. Are you done with your response?
Yes, I am.
Alright. So, yes, Andre Iguodala is my favorite 76er of all time. He is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He just isn't. And to me, the reason that he conceivably could be is because no one knows what the qualifications of being in the NBA Hall of Fame are. Like, at all. It's completely derivative of the eras that you play and the competition that you kind of, you know, who else is going in from your decade or 2 decades of playing. And to me, that's ridiculous. Like, there are players who are, I mean, you said it, there are guys there that are, you know, barely role players, and maybe they provided a few championships because they were on phenomenal teams and they were option 3, 4, or 5 and just happened to, you know, be a part of a handful of championships. Is that enough to get them into the Hall of Fame? I don't believe so. But I do take a look at Andre Iguodala, and the thing that sticks out most to me is the Finals MVP and what he was able to do on both sides of the court there. You know, he is, you know, we talk about here, you know, both of us love Dario Saric, the next man to wear number 9. Not next man, but the next memorable man to wear number 9 in this city. For basketball, not for football or anything else. Love you, Nick Foles. What we loved about Dario is the fact that he does everything, right? You know, he whatever you need him to do on any given night, he can do, and he will excel at that thing. And it's going to be different every night. Sometimes it was going to be defense. Sometimes it's passing. Other times it's rebounds. Sometimes it's scoring. That, for me, that finals series was one that Andre Iguodala, who is not a supremely offensively gifted basketball player, became a legitimate threat. He's always been a bad 3-point shooter until that final series. And suddenly he could connect when you needed him to. And he shot with confidence. And that kind of was like a picture of what was going to happen for him over the next, well, really until the end of his career here. You know, and we don't know how much longer he'll play and how much longer he you know, wants to continue to play. I would welcome him back to the 76ers in a goddamn heartbeat.
I think most people would.
I think you're wrong. I think the city hates him. But
I don't think anybody in the city really hates him. I mean,
he was never what we paid him for. He was like, he gets a max contract and people assumed that he's not the guy. He's the, you know, he's Robin, you know, like that's who he is. And he wasn't paid to be that, but can we fault him for signing the freaking contract? No.
I think that most rational people would accept him for what he is right now. I
would hope so. And I think he would bring a ton of value to this team. You know, as still a lockdown perimeter defender, still someone who takes care of their body very, very well. Someone with an improved 3-point shot and a willingness to shoot that 3-point shot. You know, he could really fit in as that like 3-and-D type of player, that swing man off the bench. And, you know, we could fill that Ennis and Scott role, to a much, much, much better version of that. But yeah, to get back to the actual question, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? No. I do think there's a severe problem with the NBA Hall of Fame and how people are, you know, make it in general. You know, I think that's a serious issue, but he will be in the Hall of Fame someday, you know, and I look at his career overall, and I've always been very impressed with him and what he has done, and how he's kind of reinvented his role each year in the NBA. he went from scoring 20 points a night for the 76ers, down to 15 points a night, but then he upped his assists, lowered his turnovers, upped his rebounds, and just really, really focused in on defense. He has just reinvented himself every year. So eventually he will be in the Hall of Fame. It will not be on the first go around.
My measuring stick for Iguodala in terms of his Hall of Fame status is Manu Ginobili. I think that if Manu Ginobili ends up in the Hall of Fame, then I would look at Iguodala and give him a little bit consideration. But in terms of being that role player, that sixth man off the bench, Manu Ginobili, I think, is maybe a slight step ahead of Iguodala in terms of what he accomplished in his career. If Manu does not make it, then I don't think Iguodala is worthy of making it. But, like I just said, if Manu does make it, then maybe I open my eyes to Iguodala a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just all relative to who from your era of basketball is getting in. Certain guys we know are getting in. Other guys, like a Manu, first of all, I think Manu's getting in regardless. I think his career was insane. But yeah, I mean, no one knows what the qualification is anymore. Literally no one freaking knows. There are guys with, like I said, 0 All-Star appearances. There are guys with 0 championships. There are guys with 6 championships and 2 All-Star appearances. It's just, no one knows. Certain guys average 30 points a night. Some guys average 8.5. People sit there and say Draymond Green's a dead lock for Hall of Fame. And is he a valuable player? Yeah. But if you just look at his night in, night out stats, he's nothing sexy. But people aren't going to say he's not deserving. Well, he is.
Are you talking about, still talking about Iguodala now, or are you talking about Draymond?
I'm using the comparison of
I think Draymond's rubbed too many people the wrong way to get in. But Iguodala, he's got a shot. I won't concede that.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that he makes. I think he's just barely on the outside looking in. I would not be totally surprised if he does make it. And if he does, he's worthy. He's done enough in his career. He's won championships. As he said, he's won a finals MVP. I just personally see him being just barely on the outside looking in.
All right. Well, 2 different perspectives here at AMYP. One who says that, yes, he will get in eventually. Another one that says he's probably just on the outside looking in. I think that I wouldn't be surprised either way, honestly. I think that if the time comes and he's never in, okay. If he gets in, the only thing I would be surprised by is if he truly is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I would be shocked the hell out of me
by that.
Yeah. So
and the NBA would need to completely redo their whole.
They should redo it anyway. There. It's absurd. So yeah, we're probably not going to have an every week show of TJ's One of Us, or at least I don't think that we will. But please continue to send in your mailbag questions, because as you fuel more content for us and more ideas, more questions, more takes, that enables us to have more shows. As we've both mentioned here on this segment tonight, we are very heavily involved in a vast majority of the segments and content that goes out during the off season right now. There isn't a whole hell of a lot that we're diving all of our attention into. Each one of us hosts several other shows and co-host on many others. So, as you guys find content for us and have different things that you want our opinion on, we will certainly research it. We will certainly, take the time to sit there and put together a segment. But it'll probably be every other week, every third week during the off season, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But like you said, if you want to hear more of us, then keep listening, because the more popular you make us, the more money we make. The more money we make, we can go out and hire some Sixers specific personnel who can give you more TJ's One of Us.
That is true. Not that I'm ready to give up the host spot of this show, that I've just gotten from Kev since he has now moved on. But yeah, no, hey, we're always sitting here in the market, and not just for TJ's One of Us, for any of our show segments. We are looking for writers. We are looking for co-hosts to these shows. We are totally accepting of those who want to put together their own podcast and put it through us. Connor and LJ have, their Kelly Green Hour, their Philadelphia Eagles show, and it is very fact-based, and it's very, very radio ready. Rob and I are going to be putting together an Eagles show of our own that will probably highlight a little bit more of, that Philadelphia passion and rage at times. So that'll be a little bit more free. If you guys have shows and you want to become a member of the Always Next Year podcast team, by all means, Rob said it earlier, send us a resume. Send us some ideas if there's something that you want us to take a look at. If you've never done it before, don't worry. Neither did we. We've been doing this for a year. So if you think we sound good, it took us a year to get here, and that's it. It probably will not take you very long either. We have several different shows with several different ways that you can do this. If you want to jump in as a co-host, you can certainly do so. If you have a show that you would like to add to us, that is also something we can consider as well. Our studio is in Bucks County, PA. We also do a multitude of different shows on Skype, which is the sound quality is not quite the same, but we make it work.
It's passable for now.
It is passable for now. Our guy Connor is from Canada, so everything that you hear Connor on is a Skype segment. So I do feel like we should reward him with a significantly better mic here in studio via our Skype channel. So eventually I'll get on that. But yeah, by all means, we're always looking to make the family grow. And if you do any video or photography, definitely reach out to us. That is actually probably the one thing that I will hope that everyone takes from this show. If you do photography and if you do video, by all means, reach out. You don't even have to be good at it right now. We just need photos that we have rights to. That will make our lives significantly more easy. So, but yeah, you got any additional final thoughts there, Rob?
I think we covered just about everything.
Solid. So we've answered 10 questions today, out of the however many we had mailed in to us over the last couple weeks, month, whatever it's been. And then we've pleaded for more help and work. So, by all means, reach back out to us. Again, you can reach us on our website. It's www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. You can email us. There's a link to the email in the website, but our email is amypodcastteam@gmail.com. You can now text us if you have in the moment takes or video rants or audio rants that you would like to be played on our show. You can certainly do so. That number is 267-640-5523. When you send anything to that text line, make sure that you write AMY podcast text at the head of it. That way we know what is coming in. You can also find us on Twitter. It is at AMY podcast. Then you can follow me, the host of TJ's One of Us, on Twitter. It is at Shane_Mead. You can follow Rob at his personal one, which is
at radio_Rob.
And please stop following him at least until I get to 1,000, because as he's mentioned on a previous show that we recorded today, he is catching up, and that really pisses me off.
Yeah, so keep following me. I want to surpass him.
Do not do that. I don't recall what our bet is. I just know that there is something in the AMYP Black Book of Bets that I will probably have to pay out again when Rob inevitably surpasses me to the first to 1,000 followers on Twitter. So please stop following him. Tell all of your friends and family to follow me instead. And then always rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we should be found on that, and be sure to rate and review us. Leave us the most creative ratings that you possibly can. All the way up until we get 29 ratings, then you can stop, because I would like to not sing for any of you. My voice is barely passable enough for radio. My face is not good enough for video. This is basically the limitation of what I can do in life. Do not make me sing on this show. That is a bet I lost to Rob. So we are aiming to get to 29, and that is it. If we hit 30, I'm gonna be pissed off. Like, partially happy, but I will be pissed off.
Man, the success of the podcast is more important than your personal deal with not wanting to sing on camera. So
here's the thing: you picked a good song.
It's a great song.
I'm gonna ruin Wagon Wheel for so many freaking people.
You gotta have confidence in yourself. Come on, man.
My dad is a singer. My sister can sing. I can play guitar and argue, and like that's about it in life. And I can cook. So there you go. We could have had we get to 30. We could have had a freaking tailgate at a Phillies game, and I would have cooked burgers for everyone.
We'll do that for like 50.
We should probably do more than that, because like that's a lot of damn money, and we do not have as much money coming in from this podcast as you would think.
Fair enough.
51.
So get us to 30 and hear him sing.
Shit. All right,
we'll figure out what 50 is going to be later on.
But 50 is something, but I can't recall what it is. I do know that like 100 or 150, Steve goes sober for a month. So if you want to save a member of the podcast life, do that. But just know this, If you save his life, that is a month that you have to go without Whiskey Ramble. How can we have a Whiskey Ramble without whiskey? We drink, we talk, we bullshit. You can. Steve cannot. Well, we're going to have to.
I'll be the temporary host of that show.
You know what?
Steve's absent.
Whoever sends in the 30th review, we should make a clause. There has to be content to the review. If 30 comes in and it's someone who just gave 5 stars or 4 stars or whatever they gave, but did not write a damn thing, I don't have to sing. Do you accept the clause?
Fair enough.
Sick.
So I will tell all my friends and family to listen to our show and give us concrete feedback.
Jesus. All right. Well, we've rambled enough on why I should or should not sing at 30 reviews that we are going to now mercifully close out this episode of TJ's One of Us. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Unless, again, you flood our inboxes with more questions, then we'll be back next week. But that'll be it for TJ's One of Us. For Robin, I am Shane of the Always Next Year podcast. We'll see you guys in a few weeks.
Get us to 30.
You're an ass.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, danced a jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
This has been a production of the Always Next Year Podcast Network. You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, Spreaker, and SoundCloud. Please also remember to rate and review this podcast to validate our members' life choices. We appreciate it. This is AMYP, signing off.